Nigeria's COVID-19 confirmed cases hit 627. Lagos remains epicenter with 70 new cases in one day. President Buhari condemns killings of 47 persons in Katsina villages. In international news, International Energy Agency says there could be record fall in global oil demand this year. And in sport, Confederation of African Football postpones inter-clubs finals.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Nigeria Center for Disease Control has confirmed 86 new coronavirus cases in the country on Sunday. The new cases bring the total to 627. Of the 86 new cases recorded, 70 were in Lagos, 7 in the Federal Capital Territory, 3 each in Katsina and Akwa Ibom. Jigawa, Bauchi and Borno confirmed 1 each. The total number of deaths from the virus in the country has increased to 21, while 170 patients have been discharged. State Health Commissioner Professor Akia Bayomi revealed this at the COVID-19 briefing on Sunday. Only 3 local government areas in the state, Jeremy, Felodun, Ekpe and Ojo, have not reported any case of coronavirus. Bayomi said majority of cases are on the Lagos mainland, followed by Etiosa and Ikeja. State officials say there are concerns that the virus is spreading in Alimosho, the largest local government area in the state. Lagos remains the epicenter of the virus with a total of 306 cases. Katsina says it will join other states currently on lockdown effective Tuesday after the state recorded 3 new COVID-19 cases. Governor Aminu Masari said in a press briefing the lockdown became imperative after 3 fresh cases of COVID-19 cases were confirmed, bringing the state's total to 12. Masari has advised traditional and religious leaders to cooperate with the government in tackling the virus. A tribute is still pouring in for the president's late chief of staff, Abba Kyari. Works and Housing Minister Babatunde Fashola describes Abba Kyari as a patriot whom he said had paid a supreme price in his service to Nigeria. Fashola said this in his tribute to the late chief of staff. He says the best way for Nigerians to honor Kyari's service and memory is to continue where he stopped. Fashola says Kyari was much misunderstood and foreign maligned. Fashola says, quote, like all of us, Abba was flawed, but he was not conceited, end quote. The British High Commissioner and the United States Ambassador also described Abba Kyari as a dedicated public servant. In a letter to President Buhari on behalf of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, Secretary General Mohammed Badinko describes Abba Kyari as a gallant public servant, fiercely loyal to the common good. Kyari tested positive for COVID-19 in late March. Prominent Nigerians such as former President Goodluck Jonathan, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and a host of others have also paid tribute to the departed banker, journalist and politician. President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned in strong terms the latest attacks by bandits on 3 local government areas in Katsina State that left 47 persons dead. The president says he's deeply saddened that the bandits took advantage of the lockdown to cause harm on Nigerians. The president assured Katsina residents the government will get to the root of these attacks. President Buhari said he will not tolerate this large scale of killing of innocent people by bandits, adding that the attacks will be met with decisive force. Security agencies have also been directed not to relent in their efforts at making the country safe from external forces. The Nigerian Army says troops 7 in Operation Lafia Dole have killed 105 Boko Haram insurgents in Yobe State. Acting Director of Army Public Relations, Colonel Sagil Musa, says the attack on the insurgents occurred in a battle at Bonigari, Jubra local government area of the state. Musa revealed the offensive was carried out after intelligence reports indicated the insurgents planned to attack the community. The Standards Organization of Nigeria says it has undertaken a quality assurance inspection of Cross River Garment Factory in Calabar. The factory produces Ankara barrier mask. The agency says the inspection was necessary to ensure masks being produced by the factory met required standards provided by SON to meet Nigeria's needs during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Cross River State government has enacted a no mask, no movement policy. SON's acting managing director, Edith Joseph, described the Ankara material being used for the barrier mask as 100% cotton and that he has sourced from neighboring Abia states. He stated that all precautionary safety measures were being observed in the mass production of the reusable mask with capacity for 100,000 units per day.
Coming up, African news. Uganda fumigates markets in Kampala amid COVID-19 while staying vigilant on malaria. And later, international news. International Energy Agency says there could be record fall in global oil demand this year.
You are watching ANN.
Correct, Costi. Give me 100 naira rice and add 888 join up. On top. Yes. Yes.
Which time I go be this now? Not be the same 100 when everybody pays this morning.
They no use code.
Which code?
Oh boy, no get it for market to get better wolf. 888 now be the code yo. Have you?
Madam, I beg, serve me 888.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. The Kenyan government says it is prepared to begin mass testing for COVID-19 following the arrival of medical supplies from China. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe confirmed the country has received 200,000 crucial sampling and testing tubes for the mass testing exercise. The government plans to start the testing by targeting selected counties and regions based on levels of infection. The exercise will begin with Nairobi County and the coastal city of Mombasa. Still expected to arrive are additional ventilators. Egyptians are marking the beginning of spring today with the Sham El Nassim celebrations, a day after Coptic Christians celebrated Easter. Both Muslims and Christians traditionally go out in large numbers, but that did not happen this year as beaches, parks, public gardens, malls and shops have been closed for the day amid the new coronavirus pandemic. Abdi El Maruki reports.
It's a festive week in Egypt, beginning with the Orthodox Christian holiday of Easter, ending with the Islamic holy month of Ramadan, and Shem Nissim in between. Millions usually rush to outdoor attractions. To avoid any form of public crowding, the country is stepping up its COVID-19 measures.
We began taking the virus seriously, but with the extension in the preventative measures, people are starting to get bored. They are gradually letting go of their hygienic habits. They are getting bored, and that's a concern. If they don't abide to the government restrictions, the country could face a catastrophe.
All parks, beaches and shops have been instructed to shut. Even food home deliveries has been put on hold. Public transportation have been ordered to suspend to prevent public mobilization within and between cities during Shem Nissim.
All churches are shut, and that has remained the case during the Resurrection Day. The government wants to cut the influx of people to Cairo and other attraction cities during the holiday, which could pose a great risk of faster COVID-19 infection.
Egypt has crossed the 3,000 mark for COVID-19 cases. Despite the night curfew strictly imposed, The government says it's expecting the numbers to grow.
Although Uganda is battling the spread of coronavirus, it has not lost sight of another disease that could compound the COVID-19 if attention is not paid to it. The country has fumigated markets around the capital, Kampala, as a result, and is staying vigilant on another killer disease, malaria.
Like every other country in the world, Uganda is taking precautionary measures aimed at curbing the spread of the novel coronavirus. The Ministry of Health kicked off the fumigation of markets around the capital, Kampala, in a bid to reduce the risks. Vendors have in recent times been seeking refuge in markets since the beginning of the lockdown to avoid infecting their loved ones.
Imagine if many people get malaria, the health system is already compromised at paying attention to COVID. So if we get malaria and a lot of malaria and we have two things to deal with, it becomes so difficult. So it is very important that other diseases right now are prevented. And our most common disease in Uganda is malaria. And you know, it also presents similar to COVID with fevers. So we shall increase the number of people whom we have to screen for COVID. So for that reason, it is very important that malaria is controlled.
Markets are usually crowded places, making it easier for the virus to spread. However, this has come with its own set of challenges. Braving the cold has subjected the vendors to diseases such as malaria.
The risk which we had was, this announcement got some people when they're already in the market. When they said the curfew starts with the immediate effect. So most of the people here have been, especially the ladies, remained here. Some of them are coming from very far, where they could not actually move in order to get what they need. So even the beds, the bed sheets, the blankets which they would be having, they didn't have it at that time.
The extension of the lockdown has come with even more challenges.
The president asked us to sleep in the market for 2 weeks because it's not good to put our children's lives at risk. But now the lockdown has been extended and it has been harsh. We would cover ourselves with polythene bags when it rains and umbrellas, but the mosquitoes were too much, and we thank the government for the nets.
The fight against the coronavirus in African countries is riddled by many constricting challenges. For market vendors in Uganda, they hope that the government's proposed plan will propel them back to business and grant their families safety.
When we return, international news. International Energy Agency says there could be record fall in global oil demand this year. And later, sport. CAF postpones inter-clubs finals.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Well, can you imagine the holy month of Ramadan without iftar gatherings or praying together at the mosque during the holiest month in the Islamic calendar? It's only days to Ramadan fasting, and that is the possibility that is shaping up now as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. The coronavirus is about to shape the world, the way the theme of family and togetherness for the holy month is celebrated. For some weeks now, mosques around the world have been shut, and there are curfews and bans on mass prayers in most of the Muslim world. Nearly 2 billion Muslims around the world are making plans to face a total different Ramadan this year as COVID-19 intrudes and changes the way things were. Saudi Arabia's Council of Senior Scholars has urged Muslims around the world to pray at home during the Ramadan month if they reside in countries that have imposed lockdowns or curfews to curb the coronavirus outbreak. The Saudi press agency reported on Sunday that the authorities had said Muslims should set an example by performing their religious duties while adhering to the preventative and precautionary measures issued by relevant authorities in the countries where they live. Mosques have been closed in Algeria. Jordanian government, along with neighboring Arab countries, will soon announce a fatwa that will outline what Ramadan rituals would be permitted. Egypt is under night curfews and communal prayers have been banned. Charity and prayer will be handled differently this year in Senegal. Charities will hand over their gifts to Quranic schools for distribution. In Indonesia, the world's largest Muslim majority country, many will meet their loved ones via online platforms rather than gathering together in one place. It promises to be a really different month of Ramadan. There have been dire predictions for the price and supply of petroleum products this year. Many experts have predicted different outcomes, and some economies like Venezuela are already being battered by the drop in demand and prices. Nigeria is lowering its benchmark price to $30 a barrel for its budget. Now, the International Energy Agency says it expects a record fall in global oil demand this year.
According to the International Energy Agency, the coronavirus pandemic will cause global oil demand to slump by a record amount in 2020. In its latest monthly report, the IEA says that for 2020 overall, demand will fall by 9.3 million barrels per day. The agency forecasts that April alone will see oil demand down by 29 million barrels per day compared to a year earlier. We haven't seen those levels since 1995. The IEA adds that measures taken to support the global economy and to reduce oil supply should allow for a gradual recovery in the second half of the year. The agency warns that even if restrictions are later eased, the 2020 fall in demand will erase almost a decade worth of growth.
It was a little more than a year ago when the historical Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris was engulfed in flames. Restoration of the magnificent edifice has been slow, detailed, and painstaking. Now, coronavirus pandemic has caused the sites to be closed to protect the workers. Reporter Ross Collins says the restoration may now drag on until 2024.
1 year ago, the cathedral behind me was engulfed in a blaze that stunned France as fires swept throughout the building. It began as maintenance work was being carried out on the cathedral spire, which would become a symbol of the event as it came tumbling down into the middle of the blaze, shocking onlookers. It took 400 firefighters 14 hours to bring the fire under control, and they did manage to save the cathedral's main bell towers, its outer walls, religious relics and priceless artwork. Notre Dame is the most visited historic monument in Europe, pulling in 12 million visitors a year. That's about 30,000 on a daily basis. On Wednesday, the French president released a video message marking 1 year since the fire. It's hoped that the restoration work can be completed by 2024. That's the year that Paris is due to host the Summer Olympics and Paralympics.
Drive-through marriages are getting popular in Brazil in this age of COVID-19. The city's civil registry offices are offering to marry couples in their cars. Some couples who have been so married say their decisions were spurred by the coronavirus pandemic. A local clerk providing drive-through marriages says some couples are doing this for health insurance reasons as they rethink their own lives in the age of COVID-19. Lucretia Franco reports.
It may sound like a cliche these days, but this really is love in the time of COVID-19. A car, a drive through the city, to a drive-through. Fernanda and Valmir are getting married. These curbside marriages are being offered by one of Rio de Janeiro's civil registry offices.
Eu preciso da identidade de vocês. Obrigado.
To minimize the risk of infection, all documents are verified and paperwork is passed and signed through a window with minimal human contact.
We wanted to formalize our situation. We have been together for 13 years. We have a 3-year-old daughter, so we wanted to have some emotional and legal security.
With this quarantine, this confinement at home, we decided to get married because we are worried that something can happen to us. So why not do it now?
Fernanda and Valmir are not alone. This office has received 150 marriage license requests in just 6 weeks, with a new drive-through service in place. That's double the rate of licenses it processed a year ago.
People are legalizing their partnerships now during the pandemic for practical reasons like health insurance, but also because they are rethinking their own lives.
And then, in less than 5 minutes, it's over. And time to celebrate with friends by cell phone. The whole process is not just swift, but inexpensive. The marriage paperwork costs the equivalent of about $45 US. Getting married in this unique way is helping Fernanda and Valmir get through the COVID crisis by giving them something to look forward to. A proper ceremony, and they say a honeymoon in Portugal.
Up next, sports. Confederation of African Football postpones interclubs finals. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, Africa News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow the story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News in Sport. Confederation of African Football, CAF, has indefinitely postponed the African Champions League and the African Confederation Cup finals. The Champions League was to have been played in the Cameroonian port city of Douala, while the African Confederation Cup finals were to have been played in Morocco. Both events were scheduled for May. June the 8th looks like the most likely date for the Premier League season to restart. League clubs remain keen to finish the season, but the proposal of completing the campaign by the end of June was not raised in the meeting on Friday. All top-flight clubs were represented on a video call with a focus on different models for completing the season. Each club has either 9 or 10 games left, and organizers believe all remaining matches could be played within a 5-week period. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Please note that coronavirus is real and it kills without regard for class or creed. Stay at home and be safe. Have a pleasant evening.